supporting new migrants and refugees,
protecting our planet,
breaking down barriers, lending a helping hand.
These are some of the ways
we became Australians of the Year.
The Australian of the Year awards are nominated by you.
So come on, reflect, respect,
and celebrate
Australians who are making a real difference.
Nominate them now at australianoftheyear.org.au.
So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Australian of the Year Awards nominations information webinar today. My name is Jackie Swingler, and I'm the Community Development Manager with Auspire, the Australia Day Council of WA. And it's my pleasure to be the MC for today's session. Welcome to those of you joining us from all around Western Australia and beyond. I'm here today on Whadjuk Noongar country, very close to the beautiful banks of the Derbarl Yerrigan, which is the Noongar name for the Swan River. It's a very special place for the Whadjuk people, who are the traditional custodians of the land where we are today. And for years they have met and gathered on this land, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and especially any of those who may be joining us online today. Auspire would also like at this point to thank our partners, the Office of Multicultural Interests and the Department of Home Affairs, who have supported us in promoting this webinar to their networks. So thank you for that. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. So just so you're aware, we have muted everyone's microphones. So if you do need to contact us during the session today, we'd ask you to first use the chat function, and one of our Auspire staff will take care of that for you. If you have any questions during the session for our speakers, we will be asking for them throughout the session. And again, you can pose them within the chat. We will also be recording today's session, and we'll make the recording available on our channels after the session. So I think without further ado, we are ready to go. So today we'll be hearing from special guest Teresa Kwok, who's the CEO of Changwa Community Aged Care and the Senior Australian of the Year in the 2023 WA Australian of the Year Awards. But first, I would like to introduce Ashley Brand, who is the General Manager of Programs and Awards at Auspire and who is the lead of the Australian of the Year Awards in WA. So over to you, Ashley.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you for that lovely introduction. If I can ask you to go to the next slide, I have the great pleasure to tell you a bit of background about the Australian of the Year Awards and the significant history that it has in Australia, and also to share with you some of the influence it has across the nation. So the Australian of the Year Awards is one of the oldest awards in Australia. It's been running for over 6 decades, 63 years to be exact, since its inception in 1960. Originally, it was only one category. That's the Australian of the Year Awards. But then a youth category or a young category was added in 1979, a senior one in 1999, and a local hero one just a few decades ago, 20 years ago last year, in 2003. The Australian of the Year Awards is a forum to celebrate and recognise outstanding Australians who are role models to us all. They're the people who ignite discussion, have a positive impact, have significant contribution. They're the change makers in our community, the people that we look up to. They're the risk takers, the innovators. They have a passion for making Australia better. And not just in their careers, it's beyond career achievements. It could be in research or career, it could be in their community, it could be through their own experience and undertaking, doing the hard yards in their own area of passion. These are the people who are our heroes, who are our role models and want to change lives for the better in Australia. So these are the people who we all know and think about, the people that we admire and that inspire us. I now have the opportunity to show you a little video which explains the Australian of the Year Awards and a bit of background about it. If you have any questions after watching this, just tap them into the chat box and I can answer them as we're going along. Okay.
Since 1960, the Australian of the Year Awards have celebrated and recognised Australians who inspire us. But who becomes an Australian of the Year? Well, that's up to you. They may be people who bring about great change, who give a voice to those who need to be heard, or who humbly serve their local community. It only takes one nomination to elevate their voice, help them access more support, or give them national recognition. Anyone can nominate an Australian they admire. So who would you nominate? When all the nominations are in, selection panels made up of a diverse group of community representatives begin the hard work of shortlisting 4 nominees in each of the 4 categories across every state and territory. The award recipient for each category is then announced at prestigious state and territory events across Australia. Those 32 recipients go on to represent their state or territory in Canberra at the National Awards, where, finally, 4 Australians of the Year are announced live on TV the evening before Australia Day. It takes just one nomination by any member of the public to get started. Who inspires you? Nominations are open all year round. So nominate now at australianoftheyear.org.au.
I love that video because it very succinctly explains how the award process works and how the state process feeds into the national program and how the announcement occurs on the eve before Australia Day in Canberra. So it explains that process. I hope you took from that very short video that the Australian of the Year Awards, a nomination can really help all the nominees elevate their voice and access more support and recognition for their programs and their passion. 32 Australian of the Year recipients across the whole country end up representing each state and territory at the National Awards in Canberra in January each year. So you could be holding the key with just one nomination to ensure that your person, the person that inspires you, is in that 32 group of 32. So a little bit about the impact. Thanks, Jackie. The Australian of the Year Awards has a massive and powerful impact on not only individuals, but also on organisations and the committees and communities that they represent. Last year, AusSpire undertook some research on the impact of awards, not only for the recipients, but also for the nominees, for those people who may not be awarded the award, but were just nominated. Both nominees and recipients said that being nominated had a massive impact on their work and on them personally. 2/3 of the people got a massive boost in motivation for the work they are doing and undertaking. And we know that giving of themselves takes a lot of energy. So any boost in motivation is very much valued. More than 50% of respondents also felt it increased their confidence in their program, in their cause, in their ability to make change. Nearly 90% of them also said it helped increase their pride and connection with what they were doing in the community. That's from the individual perspective, but from an organisation perspective, this is a step change for organisational growth if they are leading one. As you can see from the examples on the screen, just in the last week, 2 of our recipients, our state-based local hero in 2022, Craig Hollywood, announced that he, for the first time since he started the operation with short, back and side works, they have secured enough funding to provide a first paid position of a Chief Executive Officer. So this is a massive step change for the organisation and is so exciting for them because for the first time, Craig can take an advisory role rather than being the operational lead. In addition, our national recipient, Taryn Brumfitt, just announced with her friend there, our Prime Minister, that the federal government has funded $6.2 million to the Embrace Collective to undertake the Embrace Kids Classroom program. These are just two of the examples of the bottom line change that a nomination and a successful nomination can take for our recipients. But there are many. Our West Australian 2023 local hero, Jimmy Murphy, from Town Teams, who was unable to attend with us today, was very excited, and he said one of the highlights of him was not only meeting the Prime Minister and giving him one of these books, but he has also secured funding for the Town Teams and sponsorship from both the government and the commercial sector since being nominated and becoming a recipient as Australian of the Year. Although these are just two examples, or three examples, I should say, the real stories are not me sharing these stories in these Facebook feeds, but it's actually hearing from the recipients. And today we are very privileged to have two recipients, I should say, our West Australian Australian of the Year 2023, Professor Samar Ayun. Unfortunately, she is meeting with the Minister today in Canberra and was unable to attend the session, but she sent this video and recorded it for you when we asked her what was the impact of being awarded the Australian of the Year program for the Australian of the Year award for Western Australia in 2023. So I'll let her answer that question.
There are so many people making a difference in our community in WA, so it really takes that one nomination to make things happen in any field. If we want to promote it more, to make a difference in people's lives or death. The impact of Australian of the Year Award was amazing. It was a wonderful platform to get out to the community and let them know about their responsibility and their business, which is death, dying, grief and loss. Certainly, the doors have been opened wider in terms of public engagement for people to hear the message at the state, national and even international levels.
Thank you, Samar, for sharing that video with us. And as she said, she sends her apologies today, but we have the great privilege of having a virtual but a face-to-face visit these days from Teresa Kwok, who's going to share with us the impact of the Australian of the Year Awards as a senior recipient has had on herself. A bit of background, and I know Jackie has also touched on Teresa's background, but a little bit more. Teresa is a migrant to Western Australia, and from the moment she arrived, she has been working with the migrant community to help make things better. She has a background in social work, and when she arrived 35 years ago, or maybe 36 years ago now, she has been straight in there working with the local culturally and linguistically diverse communities through the Perth Changwa community and aged care. She is now the CEO of the organisation, and they deliver a range of community care programs for clients, their families and the ethnic communities. She looks after about 800 clients, not all by herself. She's got a very enthusiastic and creative group of people working with her. Teresa helps elderly members of the CULD communities to live independently and has created more equitable access to migrants and aged care service across all communities. She's been recognised with multiple awards for her efforts, and she is constantly changing and reshaping how aged care is delivered to the CULD community. Her advocacy continues to raise awareness of the unique challenges and strengths of the CULD older people within strength of cold older people within government, service providers, and the community. So thank you, Teresa, for coming on board. And maybe I'll ask the first question, which is, tell us a little bit of your background, your personal and professional background, and the work you do with Changhua Community and Aged Care.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here today. And thanks, Aspire, to give me the opportunity to share some of my migrant journey and what I have been doing all these years. And I'm a social worker, in and out, even until now, and attending to more administrative work. And I come over about 36 years ago, and thinking that I come over, I have always been a very enthusiastic social worker. When I was young, wanting to change the world. But when I arrived to Australia, I think, oh yeah, I have a lot to offer to the country. Thinking that I know quite a lot of what people's need. But when I come across, see myself change the role as a migrant and being uprooted, I see that there's so many challenges if you are facing yourself in a new country, new place, new people. And so that's why at that time, at the beginning, I feel that I'm very lost and also disoriented in a way. Until then, I say, hey, Teresa, you are nobody. Actually, there's so many things you need to do. And as a migrant, I realized that there's so many challenges in front of everyone. Even though I have not much problem communicating and then knowing what it is, the Western cultures and all that stuff. But when you are really being uprooted as a migrant and you leave all your friends, all your network behind, the challenge is huge. And you feel very lonely, isolated, and thinking that you want to go home. But I was asking myself why you're here, because you want to have a better life. And so, okay, you stay put. And at that time, I have a chance working with Changhua Association through community and aged care. I started to say, this is where I'm going to do, to share the plate and to share the ups and downs with the migrants themselves, who will be facing similar situation like myself. And this vision or this conviction of mine, it is even firmer when the time when I come across with in front of me, especially the seniors, they were old, they come at the later part of their life, and the way they look at you, they have no language at all, and they have experienced new culture, Australian culture, Western culture, and so they feel so lost in front of you and seeking guidance and support. And that is when I say, hey, as a migrant, as an Australian, this is where I'm going to do in the coming years. And then from then on, I see myself stuck in where I'm doing for over 36 years. That's where
sounds like a great place to be stuck, making a huge difference. And I like how you talked about you always knew you were going to change the world, and you just didn't know it was going to be quite in this space, right, before you got to Australia. So thank you for making such a big impact. My second question was, prior to me meeting you, someone was explaining you to me, and they said that you are someone that leads from the heart. And I think that's a very powerful reflection. I'm keen to explore that description and why you think it helps for you to make that change that you're talking about, changing the world and leading from the heart.
And I always work and always do what I believe in all my life, all my life. And so hence that's why to me, to see that migrants can settle down well and make Australia their home, and especially those they are very isolated and with all the language and cultural barrier, is what I'm going to do. And to make life easier for them, to advocate for them, and also to make, the access easier for everyone. So that is where what I believe in from the beginning of my work with the migrants. And that is what at the beginning, I say, of course, I have to work, I have to do that. But now I always remember my husband was saying that, Teresa, you are not working. Now you see what you're doing, you're fulfilling your dream. And so it is to continue to plow the land, thinking that hopefully that will be, make environment around you for migrants and all that a better place. So it will be easier for them to make their life, make their second home here in Australia. And that is what I always believe in. And I think I'm very passionate about that. I'm still, and even not with my immediate clients, but even with the people I work with, the people surround us, I always share this vision of mine, to see a better home for everyone.
It's a wonderful vision and a powerful one. So now let's talk about a bit of the impact of the Australian of the Year Awards has had on you personally, and then also the impact it's had on Chung Wah community and aged care. So if you can address both those things, Teresa.
Yes. I share how I felt, after I get the award.
Sure.
In fact, actually, I don't know. Up till now, I still don't know who nominates me for this award. Which I have to thank whoever is the nominator. At the beginning, when I got the award, I just feel that, oh, okay, that means it's more work for me. And I get up, and then my daughter sitting next to me was sharing with me, Mom, when your name was announced, you feel, oh, and like that, like as a long breath from you, and then like resign, But at that time, I feel that, okay, there's more thing I may need to do, that is what in front of me. And I still feel a little bit detached. And then from the award, But after the experience I have, especially the journey I have been going to Canberra during those times, those days, about 4 days, meeting up with everyone, 32 of them, they're all so beautiful people, which I come across with during those few days. And then I feel so much closer, feeling that I'm really a true Australian, because I have the opportunity to really mix with everyone, sharing their stories, firsthand witnessing how they are, what sort of person they are, the leadership and all that they're coming up, and actually so attractive. And the thing which made me feel that the impact on me from the award, it is that it is the time when I was attending the ceremony at Canberra, it is the time when I see that all this solemnity and solemnness, and also when we see we are, celebrating the role of all these past Australian, how they devote their life to the country and all that. I feel at that time I'm really a truly Australian, and that is how big the impact is on me, as a person. And I feel that I have more role to play to fulfill my role as an Australian, and to make sure that how to make people around me to enjoy, to appreciate, and to do their role as an Australian. And that is my own personal side. But I think from the organization's perspective, Chung Wah Association, even though Chung Wah have over 110 years history servicing the migrants in WA, and I think after the award, in fact, I can see it provides the association with more platform. People are recognizing and understanding and knowing that this is the association who has been doing that sort of meaningful work for the migrants, and that is the whole association being recognized more. And then minister onwards and all that, they come, and even to celebrate Chinese New Year festival and all that with so many of them, different MP and all that, they all have the same, the appreciation of what the association is doing. And I think that will pave the way for us, we want to go further to pursue the role for the migrant work. That will open a better door for everyone, especially for the I think the organization. And I think that is what the award itself provide for myself as well as the association more platform, a better platform for us to reach out to people. And also, I think the impact as a whole, I see that the award itself is not only for myself. In fact, this is a very good opportunity, and award itself was telling us a lot of our unsung hero, migrant worker, or whoever is working for the migrant community, that this is the award is also talking about you, you know, and that is the appreciation. And I was just like maybe like a symbol or I mean like a tool. So I go and grab the award, and in fact, this is the country was telling us that our work are being recognized.
Yeah, lovely. Now, in the past, when we speak to people about the barriers that may prevent people nominating others, we hear that it can be somewhat intimidating, as the Australian of the Year award is very prestigious and is recognised both at a state and national level. I suppose in my months of working with Australian of the Year alumni, what I've found is that each and every one of the alumni, the current recipients and past recipients, are just normal people with a huge passion for their community and making a change. Like you said, you want to change the world for the better. Having met many of the recipients from different states and territories when you were in Canberra in January, at the beginning of the year for the national announcements, what are the characteristics of the Australian of the Year?
I would say my experience with the rest of the recipient is that they're all human beings. They're all people. They believe in what they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Have the resilience and the perseverance to continue doing what they are doing for a long period of time. And then they won't give up until they see some harvest. You know, and these are what I am seeing, and then through talking to them and my experience of that, they are just ordinary people like you and me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, like you, not me, just to be clear. So, not yet. And the last question that I would love you to share with all the participants here is, why should someone nominate somebody, an ordinary person making a difference, living their passion and making a change, to be Australian of the Year Awards? Why should someone nominate in the Australian of the Year Awards?
So you have to nominate because there must have been people around you, surrounding you, you come across with, you find they are very admiring because they're doing a fantastic work around, maybe even your somebody contributing volunteer work in the canteen, your kids' canteen, day in and day out, working in community center, working here and there. Or there are some people, they are doing some simple tasks for the good of your community, the neighborhood. But those are the people which I come across with, you know, they are not the one they seek for fame. They will not be the one they seek for prestige and all that, because they're just doing what they think is worthwhile to do. And they're not asking for award, not asking for that. But if you are not nominating them, who will? So this is what I see as Australian. This is at least we can do. It is to make sure that all this unsung hero is being heard, being shown. You know, you just put down the name, put the name out, and we will do the rest of the work, or Osma will do the rest of the work.
Thank you, Teresa. Well, I think that's really important, that it's just putting a nomination in. Just one nomination can make all the difference and really help people get their message out there, elevate their passion and their cause, secure more funding potentially, get more media contacts, media attention, so that they can amplify the passion and the improvement that they're trying to undertake in the West Australian and Australian community. Thank you, Teresa. Does anyone have any questions? Teresa can't stay until 1:15. She's only here until 1. So if you've got any questions, we'll take a couple in the chat right now that you might want to ask her. The next component after this will be about how to nominate and some of the sort of specifics on that. Okay, we do have a question here. Yeah, that's an interesting question. So with what happened to Peter or Naj Meldon Bowl, it's a bit of a deterrent for all who may want to nominate and afraid of having to face such scandals. Now, that is a difficult situation, and it isn't to do particularly with the Australian of the Year. Scandals can happen at any time, in any place, and it is having to play itself out. It is under investigation still, is my understanding, through the Olympic committees, and that will progress. I understand what you're saying about it being a deterrent, but I think doing anything where you are the leader, where you are putting yourself out there, and being good at anything has potential for people to to have feedback on you that may not be what you're looking forward to. So I hope that addresses that. I'm sorry if it is a deterrent, but that's my particular feedback on that situation. Does anyone else have anything else? Teresa, this one's for you. What does Teresa think is the best way to let people know about the awards? What are your communication methods and to encourage nominations? Do community organisations like Changhua have a role in this kind of promotion?
No, actually, we try our best to do it is one around ourselves, you know. Regularly, every day we have community news, and then to our people to tell them, and also we have regular weekly features in the local newspaper, you know, and also quarterly newsletter and all that stuff. And we will share what it is happening, and then to make them aware what it is, because especially this is the people, they need to have more information about what's going on in our country. And so this is how we will share about the news of the award. And also myself, actually, I quite regularly really go out and talk to people, talk to them, share with them. And I would say sometimes the award is like ordinary people. And in fact, I just would like to add a word on the migrant side, because in general, our migrants in general is quite kind of like feel that they're not confident. In general, they feel that, oh, a lot of the award will go to other people, not us. You know, these are the sort of thing which they think that we may not be as good. You know, we don't really understand them that much and all that. And thinking this is not for me. This is other people, other Australian, other wider community. But I think if we started to think about that and start to work together and think that, no, this is also for me as an Australian. We are no different from any other Australian. Even though we may speak the language differently with strong accent, doesn't mean that we are less Australian. So I think this is the beginning, that if we started to come up and nominate one around you, and so that means you are doing each other's a very big favor, and to bring up the confidence and bring up the independence of each other and feel proudly that we are Australian.
Thank you, Teresa. Well said. Big Al agrees with you, and thank you for your insight there, Al. Appreciate that as well too. Okay, well, I think that was a great segue into the next slide, which talks about the importance of diversity and being represented. Today we had the pleasure from hearing from Teresa, and also from Samar with her recorded message. Each of them have very different causes and different backgrounds and different experience and different ideas. Diversity is such a strong part of who we are as Australians, as Teresa just pointed out. We have a huge amount of newcomers in Australia, and every one of them is Australian, should be represented in our lineup. They come with different ideas, different life experiences, different backgrounds, different cultures. They come with new ideas, new passions, new issues. The Australian of the Year Awards enables people from diverse backgrounds with skill sets of Olympians and Paralympians, social workers, doctors, agitators, and local community advocates to all represent us as Australians. We are wanting the true West Australian community to be represented in the diversity of nominations. So every one of you here on the call, please encourage your communities, your friendship groups, your networks. Nominate everybody that you think is making a difference in our West Australian community. And though we haven't had the opportunity to hear from Naj Meldon or Peter Boll, he's our young recipient who's actually training in Europe at the moment, or Jimmy Murphy, our local hero. We trust with what Teresa and Samar have shared that you can understand that it takes only one nomination to help people support them and elevate their voice, access more support, both funding and also non-funding support, and give them national recognition. You can make all the difference. You put forward the unsung heroes that Teresa mentions. And even if they are not the state or national recipients, you are making a difference. You're helping with their motivation. You're helping with their messaging. They may not know who is nominated, like Teresa does not know who nominated her. You can tick a box in the application form or the nomination form that says you're anonymous. So that's why Teresa's never going to find out, I don't think, Teresa, unless you bang into somebody and ask them. But it can make all their difference to their own belief, their motivation, and their organisational development. Thank you so much, Teresa, for joining us. I'm now going to talk more about the selection criteria. So it's probably a good opportunity. I know you have to run off to a meeting, that you are off the hook and I can share the rest of the information with the participants.
Thank you everyone. See you.
Bye, Teresa.
Bye.
So now we've talked about why, the impact, and the reason why you should nominate someone. This is a bit more about how. An individual need only be nominated once to be considered. The number of nominations received per nominee bears no weight to their selection. So don't put in many nominations for the same person. There is no need for that. One nomination is all it takes. The selection criteria is quite broad, but is important. And that is, Australians of the Year need to make a significant contribution to the Australian community and nation. This is a question, and you have up to 800 words to answer that question. You don't need to use the full 800 words, but you can if you like to write. You also need to demonstrate the person you are nominating is an inspirational role model for the Australian community, and they demonstrated excellence in their field, professionally or in the community. If you are choosing to nominate someone for the Local Hero Award category, you also need to acknowledge a significant contribution at a local community level. Make sure your nomination addresses these 4 things. And we will be sending out this PowerPoint, but in addition to that, we will also send out a link to the Australian of the Year Nomination Awards Force website, which has all this information and more in detail. One of the most important things is that the person you're nominating has to be an Australian citizen. So that's really important. They actually have to be an Australian citizen. Jax, do you mind going to the next page? Thank you. So in terms of eligibility criteria, the awards will not be granted posthumously. Self-nominations will not be accepted. So if someone else has to nominate you, nominees must also be at least 16 years of age on the 26th of January at the awards year. Sitting state and federal politicians and current vice regal officers are not eligible. Groups of people or or couples will not normally be eligible, though in exceptional cases, the selection panels may reserve the right to consider such nominations. One such nomination occurred a couple of years ago with the WA Craig Challen and Richard Harris, who jointly had saved those soccer players in the Tyre Cave rescue, and that was a joint nomination. Unsuccessful nominees may be re-nominated in subsequent years. So the hard work you put in this year may also be able to be used in subsequent years if they are not the recipient. You do need to, yes, thanks, Jax. At a national level, a person cannot receive a second award in the same award category, but can be considered for recognition in a separate category in following years. For example, if someone is the recipient in the young, then in a few years' time, when they're continuing to make amazing change for Australia, they may be nominated for the Australian of the Year category or the local hero category. Individuals can only be nominated to one state or territory. And the current members of the NADC, which is National Australia Day Council Board, or the Aspire board are not eligible for nomination. Again, all this information is on our or on the Australian of the Year Awards website. How to nominate. Really, it's about 5 quick steps or a checklist. Go online and nominate at australianoftheyear.org.au/nominate. I suggest, because I'm a bit of a stickler for being prepared, is actually download the hard copy nomination form and prepare it offline. So you can answer your questions, use chatbots, write your responses, edit, and take your time in pulling together the information you'd like to submit. You can include attachments, links to articles, photographs, newsletters, references are really required if that's possible. You can include links to Facebook, links to LinkedIn. There's lots of information. Support your nomination with facts and stats. They're really helpful. And once you have put your nomination form in, don't forget to submit it. It's a really important part of getting that submission in there. So now I'm going to show you a couple of the screens of what the Australian of the Year Awards Force interface looks like. You do need to you do need to register first. It takes only a couple of minutes, much like you would register for a shopping site, Woolworths, or any of those other ones. It doesn't take very long, but you need to fill out your details. Once you have done that, you go into the next page. Oh, sorry, I've just lost my mouse. 1 second. As you can see across the top of the screen, highlighted here, is you have a number of tabs, 5 tabs. You start your nomination. Then you go to the nominee tab, the nomination tab, the attachments, and referee. Your start nomination form is the basic demographic. Start by answering a few questions, including the state the person you're nominating lives in. We hope it's Western Australia for those on the call today. The category you are nominating them for, the young, the senior, the Australian of the Year, or the local hero. And asking their name and contact details if you have them. Tab 2 asks for the contact, the age, and citizenship details. Now, it would be great if you know this, but if you don't know, it's okay. Just answer what you can. Don't let it stop you from putting in a nomination form. Then you've got a very important screen, which looks at, would you like to keep my nomination anonymous? As Teresa referred to, her nominator did want to be anonymous, and so therefore she will not be able to find out who nominated her, much to her frustration, I believe, because she'd like to say thank you. And also here is another opportunity. We at the Australia Day network of organisations, if you select yes here, we'll share your nomination with other state based awards programs in Western Australia, for example, the Community Citizen of the Year awards programs and other such awards programs, as well as the Australian Honours Secretariat program or the King's Birthdays Honours List. So it's a great opportunity to put your information of your nominee in here and for it to be shared across multiple awards categories and programs. Now, here's where the longer work takes or the customized work occurs. Tab 3 is all about your nomination. Other than filling in the details of your the person you're nominating, you also need to answer, why are you nominating this person? Now, when you're considering why you're nominating this person, which is up to 800 words, start by outlining why your nominee is worthy of an Australian of the Year award in clear and concise manner. You don't need to be a author or playwright here. Just write it from your heart. Share with the reader the story, what this person is doing or has done that makes them stand out. Share with the reader why you are motivated to submit a nomination. Please give example in question 2 of the nominee's excellence in their field. What are they doing that impresses you? Use real-world examples, whether they're the first one to lend a hand at the local football club or running a multinational company. We really want to know their stories and the impact they have on their community and Western Australia and Australia. Describe the nominee's significant contributions to their local, national or global communities in question 3. How have they changed their community, the city, Western Australia or the nation? Is it through personal or professional contributions? Have they maybe changed legislation, or have they achieved an extraordinary human feat? Have they made an extraordinary scientific breakthrough? Do they go above and beyond with the community? These are the things we want to know. And lastly, how do they inspire you? Don't forget in the last one how to submit your nomination. You have an opportunity on this screen where the arrows, it shows how to submit, but you have opportunities to start a nomination and then come back and fill it out. We suggest you fill it out and finish it within a 1-week period. That's really important, so that we know that the nomination, it will progress. Okay. So now I've told you about how the nomination occurs. Once the nomination is submitted, it then goes to the selection panel. And our selection panel is made up of everyday Australians, as the video that we watched at the beginning suggests, from all walks of life, from business, not-for-profit organisation, government departments and community groups, spanning various fields of endeavours and professionals. They are everyday Australians. In choosing the recipients of the Australian of the Year Awards, regard is given to the nominee's achievements in the past year, hence why it's called Australian of the Year, as well as the past achievements and ongoing contribution to the Australian community and nation. Selection panels will assess those nominations on basis of those 4 questions that we just went through. So really, that's where it's important to fill out your information and consider your responses. We really want to ensure the Australian Year Awards are representative of Australia, our diverse nation, our age, our genders, our locations, our fields of endeavour and ethnicity. So that is something that the selection panel is also looking for. Right, so now we've told you about the nomination form. We really want to talk to you about how you can share this information with your community groups, your networks. Help us at Aspire and in Western Australia show the diversity of change makers in WA. We have designed a very easy web page where you can download a lot of different resources that will help people learn about how easy it is to nominate. We have posters in multiple different languages. We have social media tiles. We have videos that you can share on your social media network. We have postcards. We have many, many different toolkits. We've tried to make it very easy for you. If you need something else, reach out to us. But as I can show you, here are some of the posters in different languages. So we will send that link to you as part of the information kit that comes out at the conclusion of this webinar. Right, so are there any questions I think we're at? And if so, can you please put them in the chat? Nope, no questions.
Sounds like you've done your job well, Ash.
Oh, maybe. I hope so. Well, in that case, I will hand over to Jackie. And thank you very much for listening. And Jackie will just conclude.
Okay, beautiful. Oh, hang on. Helen said, yeah, I think a link to the resources would be great. Yeah, Helen, we will definitely send that out to everyone who's attended the session today. So thank you for that suggestion.
I'll also put it in the chat right now for you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Ashley. So yeah, formal thank you to me, from me to
and to
Ashley.
you.
To Ashley and Teresa for sharing information about the awards process and the value of award recognition to both the recipients and, of course, to their wider communities. So again, we really think it's important to remember that just being nominated for such a prestigious award can give people a really great sense of pride and validation that someone has noticed the amazing work that they're doing. We constantly, when we're speaking to previous recipients, we're getting this consistent message from them. So we can't underestimate the value of that. So our team at Auspire and the wider network of Australia Day councils across Australia, we're all working together to ensure that the people who are recognised within the Australian of the Year Awards program are really truly representative of the diversity within our society. And that is where all of you can help. So we really would love to encourage all of you to nominate someone that you think has made an impact, as Ashley said, locally, nationally, or at an international level. And your nomination doesn't have to be perfect. Just gather whatever information that you can and make sure to submit it by the 31st of July is the most important thing. So we've got a few, things that we'll share with you to help in terms of this message. So the resources, and some other links for you as well. And also just good to note as well that the National Australia Day Council does have some contact details for additional support for this. So we'll send that out to everybody after the session. So finally, just in Western Australia, who inspires you? Nominations are open, as Ashley said, at australianoftheyear.org.au. And speaking of representation, we think at Auspire that it's about time Western Australia had a recipient at the national level. So thank you all for joining us today, and let's all get nominating.